What's going on, everybody? So I'm here with the finishing stages of the simplex nodes. We got a couple of the rims Maxtrac in today, and we're going to be wiring these puppies up to the BF 888s. So happy they're in. Oh, look at them. Shout out to Repeater Builder. So this is what we are going to be modifying. I sniffed it because it's new. He just created these things fresh off the print for me here, and I wanted to see if it smelled. I don't know why I wanted to see if it smelled, but it's nice and pearly, really nice job here on it. So we're going to be kind of modifying their creativity there a little bit, making it work for our own. So right now I'm just stripping back the wires here from the radio to ensure that I can get it on there correctly. I'm not going to strip it, I'm just going to burn it. It might have been easier to strip it. I don't know. Hopefully I don't run out of camera space on the phone there. Yeah, that worked out marvelously. But it's far too long. I'll move this out of the way for the moment here. I'm just stripping it back. This is way too much, and so I'll be pinning it back down here in a minute. I just getting a little bit exposed here to tack on. With every build I do, I get a little bit more perfection at this, and that's why I don't charge GMRS people for their nodes. You know, I just charge the hardware cost. But I'm not perfect by any means, but like I say, you know, if there's something that messes up on my modifications, I will fix that for you, no problem there, because I am still learning at this stuff, but it works, so I don't complain. So as you can see, I trimmed all the wires out there a little bit, and I'm going to snip those down. Got my wire snippers over there. So I don't... I didn't strip enough back. So some of the pins are on the front of the board and some of them are on the back of the board. And I did not strip enough wire back, so I'm just trying to strip a little more off here. There it goes. So I don't want a bunch of wire exposed, you know, from the ties that I just did there. So I want to make sure that splicing his back is going to give me enough to run, but I don't want to have too much extra neither. So that looks to be perfect. So I'm using a different cable than what I have in the past. trying to use something with a little better grounding, or shielding. Not grounding, but shielding. And unfortunately, it only gives me 4 wires and a ground wire, a shielded wire on the outside for a ground. So I'm essentially using the braided wire as a ground, but that leaves a bunch of wire exposed. I don't like that, and I might wind up doing something about that. As more of these things I do, I think of better ways to do things. Don't. I don't have a heat shrink tubing that is small enough to run over this. So I just want to make sure I get all the wires out of here that are snipped. Yeah. I don't need all the dead wires in here. Alright, so apparently I don't have my wife's hot glue gun in here. What I was doing with the last one was I was running a bead of hot glue over it just to give it the extra shield over it, I should say. Alright, so I'm going to take these, I'm going to do a close-up and I'm going to pull it back when I'm done. That is about all I need to do this mod. So I'm going to finish off the rest of these wires here. It doesn't take much. I don't need much exposed. Alright, so now I got all those down. Instead of the hot glue, I've got this stuff. This is some quick set glue here. Should be wearing some gloves. I got something here I could run around it. I don't. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to prevent this. I'm trying to just give it a little shielded so it doesn't fry out anything on the board. Just trying to put a little coat of something to block it. And I'll check that for continuity. I don't have my continuity checker in here, but I'll check that for continuity here in a little bit. So what I'm getting access to are these little ports right here. There is a little plastic heat shrink tube over it, and I'm going to be peeling that back a little bit so I can get access to them. So I just take my knife and cut it up and pull it back. And this exposes the board, so I can now run the wires to it. And let's see here. You know. The knife I'm using is not very sharp. I also don't want to cut the board, but I want to cut this plastic. Alright. That time I got it. That time I got it. Alright. That one's done. I don't know if you guys could see it or not, but I plucked off a little bit there off of there, so it exposes the wires. We'll do the other side here. And to that side. You know, I put that over it, not even thinking about it. I'm leaving the plastic on this, so it's not like it's actually going to touch the board at all, but I still I don't want to have bare wire running around. It's not good. So, and there we go. Oops, I don't think it cut. Need to sharpen this dang thing. Last time I sharpened it, I cut my dang finger up. So I'm trying not to slice my finger on YouTube or Facebook. But of course that would probably make for better reviews. Alright, so the intention is I'm going to run this right up to the butt of it here, and then I'm going to tack them down to the corresponding pins that I'm looking for. So the cord that I'm using, I mean, it's got the red, the green, the black, and the braid. So I've got a little cheat sheet written down here, and I'm gonna go through. The rim has schematics. The pins that I want to use is pin 11, which is RX audio, pin 2, which is TX audio, pin 8 is the core, pin 3 is the push to talk, and pin 7 is the ground. So my little cheat sheet I did for the first batch of radios with the different colored wires. And now I've got to make my cheat sheet up with the new corresponding wires. And of course, I can never find my pen. This ain't pen, but it's my solder. Pen or pencil or something to write with. Oh well. I guess I'll just look up top. Knife safety. Flip it away, we're not using it. Alright, so on the board it tells you pin 1 is on this side, pin 2 is on this side. So essentially what you do is you do pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, pin 5, pin 6, back and forth. So you got to find the corresponding sides and put it there. So really wish I could find my pen. Ah, here it is. Alright. So I'm going to write my corresponding up here for this one right quick. Like I say, when you're modifying the radios, you put in your own color of wire. So what color I use here, I mean, means nothing. It's corresponding within what's inside the radio, though. Push talk 3, RX is 11, TX is 2, and ground is 7. So this one's on the same side, this one's on the same side. So we're going to call one side of the board plus, I'm going to call the other side negative. I'm going to start with the ones that have the 3. the odd numbers. The odd numbers 3, 11, and 7. So I'm going to find my odd side here. I'm going to put it in. Pick this up at Harbor Freight here to make my life a lot easier here. So I put this on a little backwards. I guess I could tack it here. Oh, dummy me. That one's on the same side. Okay. 2, 4. Yeah, I'm on the wrong side of the board. I wanted to start with the one that had 3, so that would be the side. And 15. That's a 1. Yeah, there's 1. So I'm doing every other block here, essentially. Still trying to figure out how I'm doing all this with this thing to make my life easier. It seems to be making it a little more difficult, but we'll get it. I'll get it eventually. So I want 3 with the black wire. So the way I am looking at this, 1 is at my top, 3 is below it by 1. I'm going to tin these wires a little bit here. All right. I like to dip them in flux a little bit there to get them going. Alright, I had this problem. I just bought this thing. I had this problem with the last one. I gotta pull it out a little bit. The problem is it's getting too hot. So I want to be able to pull it out just a tad. This one had seen better days. My tip is no longer flat. It's no longer pointy. So I wanted a pointier tip for what I'm doing here. And I don't want to burn myself, so I want to find something I can grab a hold of this with. Luckily I got a paper towel right here. And it's burning the paper towel pretty quickly. Yeah, right about there. Alright, so now got it out a little bit. I'll put a little bit of that on there. Let's see here if I can get this. And my other one worked a lot better than new, I guess. Trying to leave a little bit of extra on here because I noticed he's got a little loose on the connections. So I'm just gonna put a little extra on the wire itself. This thing's being a little pain in my ass today. Should stick with what I know. I got that other one working. I wanted more of a finer tip. And I guess having a finer tip isn't always the best. Because now it doesn't want to work right. There we go. Right. There we go. Finally, on the last one, it worked just the way I wanted it to. Well, second to the last one, anyways. This one's giving me a little bit of a pain in the butt. There. Alright. So again, I'm back at the board. Want the black, 2, 3. So I'm going to black, red, and the ground. Black, red, and the ground. All the rest of those can go over to the other side. Alright. So here we are. A little bit of the black. Alright, so now we got to get it angled just right to get it into there, but to keep it, this doesn't spin a little bit, so that's alright. I got a pick to help me out with this a little bit here too, so, and I think my hands would probably work best. I think I'm going to have to switch over to my old one, because this one just doesn't seem to be cutting it. I might be doing something wrong. I finally dialed in my last one there, and I decided to switch. Should go with what I know. Alright, so now I gotta wait for this. I'm going to pause this. Alright, I'm back in business here. So my other soldering gun is ready to go here. I'm going to try and tack this down in here to get it to stay. And there's my first one. So what I like to do is I try to figure out the ones that I'm using here. I'll just happen to run a little bit of flux on the parts. 11. 1, 2. 11. Alright. 1, 11, right there. That one almost got away from me. And 7, which was my ground wire right in the middle here. Screwed that one up. I'm crossing a little bit here. I'm going to try and fish that through there. 1, 2. 7 right there. Now, while I was paused, I actually tore back some of the ground. It was just a tad bit long. I'll tune that up. There. My ground is 7. There. Want to make sure you're not touching anything on the other side. Make sure that they're good and solid. And looks good for that side. Now we're going to flip it over and do the same. This side, I only have the 2 wires. 8 and 2. So 2 is going to be my white one. My white one is going to be down at the bottom. Once I get the wires shaped right, I can use my thing here and hold it down. Make sure I'm tinned up here. And 2 is down at the bottom. I gotta make sure everything's gonna line up. I think I left myself just shy of being able to do it that way. You know what? I see why they use the magnifying glasses. I do. I mean, I'm sitting here squinting. Duh, why don't you swing the magnifying glass around? I wanted to see my eyes are good. I don't need that. I'm still going to be squinting. It doesn't really appear to be doing much. Ooh. Now I got to reach around the dang thing. Alright. So, yeah, maybe that's just too much. I don't need it that bad. I could see what I'm doing. It's just the light in here. The light light in here isn't the best. No, that's just in my way. I did leave myself a little too short on this side. Right there. Let me just double check. I want 2 is the white wire. There we are. And 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Because of the little ridge with the heat shrink tubing, it's making it a little more